good morning, all of you. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to an interaction. So I think, the organizations typically want us to add value in terms of what is happening in the organization. And what is happening in the organization is how to win in the markets, how do we create products in time, how do we reach out to customers, how do we manage product portfolios. And therein lies the secret of, it is not the CFO, I would say even finance team members. It's become like that, and I'm not trying to canvas for the rest of the functions, but that is how the function is actually evolving. And that is why, if you notice, and this is not part of my presentation, I'll start it now. I hope I'll be given that additional 5-7 minutes which I lost. Okay. Now, that is why I don't know whether statistically, and I think that score is low, by the way, but 20 to 25% of CFOs globally become CEOs. The guys who do that are the guys who have actually kind of understood the business much better. And the advantage that a finance guy has, it is not CFO. CFOs are not some magic animals that God has dropped saying CFO and all that stuff. Okay. The finance guy has a much better view of what is happening. Right? Because he's seeing it completely from, I would say, data-driven approach. Right? He sees facts. He or she sees facts. He or she sees outcomes. And if you overlay that with business knowledge, what happens is you get a great management guy. You can call him CEO, whatever you want. Okay. So my topic was Chief Value Officer. By the way, that is not me. Chief Value Officer is the topic. My name is Gopal Mahadevan. At the start, let me tell you, I am not a very particular guy about all these terminologies like chief and all that stuff. There's no chief anymore these days in organizations. If you really look at it, and I genuinely mean it, it's only about the teams. Yesterday's Chandrayaan successful touching base has not happened because of only a single chief. It has happened because of a whole mass of people, right? So this chief value officer, chief financial officer is fine because you need a designation, but one shouldn't actually start thinking that one is a chief of anything. One is not. One is a member of the team. And when we work on assignments, that's what happens. You start becoming a member of the team and start working on it. Now, so let me start. So the topic is Chief Value Officer. So we said, okay, it's an interesting topic. And I just broke it into two simple. There are multiple ways to skin this cat. Okay, but I'm just keeping it as very simple way. There are two things that we can do. There are many things that we can do. But one is value creation. And the other one is to help drive value systems. Nothing can be done by finance department. Let me start with the statement. Nothing can be done by the finance department alone. But a lot can be done by the finance department. And when I say finance department, that's why I said this is not about discussion about a CFO. This is about finance guys. Whether they are in top management, middle management, lower management, it doesn't matter. So these are two things, right? Value creation and value system. So I'll talk about the value creation part of it first. I just took 3-4 key themes. There are a lot of them. And this is not a cluttered PowerPoint slide. This is more, all of these slides are placeholders. They don't have any data, they don't have complex graphs, they don't have any, it's a very simple PowerPoint presentation that I thought I'll share, and we'll talk with you more, and if there are some questions, if I may take, I'll take, right? Customer focus, innovation, strategy and M&A, performance management, digital and automation, and total shareholder returns. I just took 6 of them. There are a lot of others. Like costing is there. I mean, I could go on. Transaction processing is there, right? It is not that they are less important, but I just took 5-6 of them because I have half an hour, not the whole day to talk. So I said, let me pick 6. Oops. Customer focus. It is more critical than ever today because organizations, all of us know this, okay? None of what I'm going to talk is a secret sauce. Organizations today exist only because they have to conquer the customers. The guys who acquire the customers are going to be the guys who are going to win. Let us take my own example, Ashok Leyland. India's second largest commercial vehicle manufacturer, great products, 75 years of history of innovation. I'm not going to get into this in detail because I'm not here to sell Ashok Leyland, neither are you guys who are going to buy trucks or buses. You're car owners. But the point is, that is in diesel. Today what is happening is you've got hydrogen fuel cell, you've got H2 ICE, hydrogen ICE, and then you've got that ICE is internal combustion, then you've got electric vehicles. So we are starting the play all over again. So when you have to reach customers, yes, you can bank on your brand, you can bank on your network, you can bank on your reputation, your product capabilities, your people, the organization credibility that comes in. But after that, there are a lot of other new players who come. Like somebody called Green Cell has come. Somebody called Olectra has come. You Google and see Green Cell and Olectra did not exist 7, 8 years ago. So then they have different strategies to come. So we are all again fighting with the customer, fighting for the customer in a market which is completely blue ocean. And when we are doing that, whether it is new customers or even the existing internal combustion business, we have to do it extremely fast. So as a finance guy, it is important that we are completely aligned as to what are the key drivers and matrices in which a customer is acquired. And believe me, when I go and travel, right, I don't look at it from a finance bent of mind. It has not happened, but I know initially there were some stages where, some products were not. So when the customer comes back and says, actually this product is not performing the way it is doing, your service can be improved, you don't have an infrastructure in this part of town, then you start thinking, hey, all these CapEx proposals that are coming in make sense. Warranty is not a number or a cost. Warranty is a capability that we have to drive. So we need to invest in product development. So the key point that I would say, and I insist on in your organization that I would like to go and see the operations. It may not be customers. If somebody is doing, say, for example, payables, go and see the vendors. Go and see the manufacturing guy. Go visit the stores. Understand the problem. Not because you should bend backwards and do whatever they want us to do. Because you will be able to do it better. And that is where value comes. Value comes in only when you actually are able to kind of push something with your shoulder. Not put the brakes. So you will actually see that you might have all thought that I'm going to talk about how great finance is and how great finance are. We are great, we are superb, we are required, and we are an essential part of the strategy of the company. Let me not dilute that at all. Like he said, we bring in the effect of synergizing the whole organization together. But we can do it a lot better if we understand our backyard. And I'm sure all of you are doing it, so I don't want to keep professing something from a podium. The second bit, how much, how soon? How much of money do we put? Capital allocation is a very important decision that managements are faced with and finance guys are faced with. How much money do we put into the current products? How much do we put into capacity? How much do we put into learning and development? How much do we put into future products? Should I insist, for example, in an EV business today, can I go and tell the business head, give me the IRR of this? He doesn't even know how it is going to be after 5 years. We don't even know what batteries are going to be sold. So can we say, sorry, I can't clear the project because IRR is below my threshold. What is the contribution we're making on that? Not much. So it is very important for us to also understand, and I'll talk about risk management a little later. It is very important for us to understand the business, the paradigms. Today I'm telling you, I leave the accounting standards and the core thing reporting to my very able deputy. Not that I don't read it, I do. I have to understand BRSR reporting, for instance, right? Or what is happening on traceability of audit. I have to drive that as a finance guy. And I have to spend core time on it. M&A, treasury, meeting, all that is all very nice. Feels very nice. But we also need to spend time with our core guys, the accounting guys, the transaction processing guys. Are we meeting the efficiency demands of the new customer, the new vendor, the new employees, the younger generation employees? Yeah, so that is spent. But having said that, today I do read quite a bit on battery technology. I need to understand what is happening. I need to know what is the difference between an LTO battery or an NMC battery, or why is it that this battery is better than that battery. I can't be sitting in a meeting saying that, okay, let the finance part come and I'll discuss. It doesn't happen that way. See, one of the most critical things about success in our function, let me share with you, is about understanding the business a lot better. And I'm not going to repeat it again and again. It's very, very important. It's crucial today because understand one thing. Earlier, the CFOs or the deputy CFOs or the head of treasury will tell about RBI policy, inflation rates, interest rate differentials. Today, everybody has access to it, yeah. Today, everybody has access to sales numbers, margin numbers. So we have to, see, for us to become very relevant, we have to understand the business and be able to contribute from the financial perspective, from the returns perspective, from the strategy perspective. This is very, very crucial. And when you come to that, the finance guy makes a very important decision in the future of the company. Should we take risk or not on a new technology? These are issues that I face even today. I have to go back into it and then look at a capital allocation business. So while I'm talking this, I have to put my thinking hat to contribute to how do I now help the manufacturing guy or the product development guy make a right decision. Disagreement is not a wrong decision. I'm not asking you to disagree. When you disagree, if you have a different point of view, build it with logic, not just pure financial logic. Build it with logic by understanding about what is the outcome of your decision. Then you become a more credible partner. Strategy and M&A, I talked about it, I'm not going to discuss, but you know, this, the finance department, the CFO, the number twos, number threes, etc., have to be continuously looking, scouting for business opportunities. Because you are in touch, you know, we are in touch with investment bankers, we are in touch with some of the consulting firms. We should actually use that network to find out whether there are any opportunities. Don't keep it only to, say, for example, if we have an, let's assume that I meet a big 4 or a big 6 or a big 10, it doesn't matter. We are discussing on some certain thing on tax. You can ask, hey, who is your transaction guy, man? Ask him to come next time. Let's pop in, let's have a chat. You don't know the benefit of all of this. You know why I come and address, forums where I have fine fellow professionals like you? It is not just to kind of share. I mean, who am I? Am I some great guy that I have to come and share something with you? No. It gives an opportunity for me to, first of all, think. When we are putting together a presentation, you think about it. You say, what do you want to talk about the subject? So when you're going to talk about the subject, actually I have learned a lot when I prepared this. This is not my experience that is talking, good or bad. At the end of the presentation, you may say, this is a lousy presentation. I don't know, but whatever it is my thought. The second thing is I also get the ability to network. Unfortunately, I have to go immediately, but otherwise I would have loved to stay. I may meet some people with whom I may want to have a professional relationship. You know, network building becomes very important. So I'm not sticking to a particular format, but I'm telling you, so when you're doing it, M&A strategy, believe me, it all happens sheerly out of your perseverance to look at something and say, okay, I want to do something. There is an organization lead. I'll take a quick example. In Thermax, when I was there, that company was looking for an M&A acquiring a particular company in Denmark for more than 10 years. It happened because of providence, by the way. But I used to keep on meeting people. I used to meet bankers even when there was no need to meet bankers. Because Thermax was a cash-rich company. It never borrowed. But some of the best banking relationships that I had were developed in Thermax. And when I joined, I never thought I'm going to join Ashok Leyland 7 years after joining Thermax. There was no plan like that, okay? It happened, I came in. I could draw on those relationships that I had built in Thermax to actually make a lot of, I would say, change here in Ashok Leyland. And by the way, going back to the Thermax story, some random meetings that I had with some people 3-4 years before I joined Thermax. So somebody came and, hey, you joined Thermax? I said, yeah. So what are you doing? I said, no, I'm looking for a boiler company. This is what it is. He said, let me come back to you. Believe me, we did the deal. Nobody could believe that we could get that boiler company. Okay, and the deal was done in 65 days. So why I'm stating this is M&A is one part. Yeah, you have to use your strategy, tax consolidation, cash flows, take out financing, leverage, buyout. All that is all fine. That also needs to be done. You need to think about it, get your expertise, etc. But I would also say there is a softer side to it. My presentation today, my discussion with you is all on the softer side. It's not on the hard side. Hard side, you're going to have a lot of sessions, and there are experts who are going to do it, right? Performance management. Ultimately, this is very important. This is where we get hated. But that is important. You know, when you go and work out, we do look at the scales, right? We want to see how much we weigh. Finally, that is the proof of the pudding, right? You can't say, no, I abstained from this, I did that, I only had one extra samosa, but 2 days I didn't have whatever I need to have. It doesn't matter. You have to look at the scales. Finally, you have to look at how much are you weighing in. This part of it is very, very important. So when you show that, it's very critical for you to tell the leadership teams, your colleagues, etc. But the only thing, you know what? Tell it in an acceptable way. Don't make your finance presentation, you know, like, now I'll come to the scorecard, yaar. You know, this guy failed in math. That guy's English, 2 things went off. Physics mein ye nahi kiya. It doesn't matter. If there is negative news to be spread, and which you have to, we can't move away from our karma on that. Do it in a way where you discuss with the business head a little bit in hand, saying that my presentation is going to have this. Okay, your sales performance has been down by 10%. Why don't you keep your responses ready? Or better still, let me know. And if you make that presentation saying that, you know, in the Northeast, the sales were lower by this, but this was happened because there were 3 depots that were closed, or a dealer was down. I'm sure they're going to pick it up in the next month. That is the discussion I had. Look at the quality of presentation that you're changing. It makes a whale of a difference. You know, playing the role that we have, and somebody used the term villain, which is partially true. But what happens is, if you are able to collaborate and make that, but at the same time look at the scales, you can't move away from that. And sometimes you have to do advance warnings. When you look at the scales, what is important is you give advance warning saying, you know, next quarter possibly this business is not going to hit it. How do we correct that situation? Last year, when we started the year, okay, I've told this to investors, I may take another 7 minutes. Our actual annual plan, we had finished 21-22 with 4.7% EBITDA. It's not a great number. So when we put the plan, the decision that came out was, we need to scale up the organization, right? Steel prices are high, everything was high, all that is fine. So we said, okay, why don't we double the EBITDA as the target for the business plan? So that was coming to 9.4. Now 9.4 is very complex, because if you have to do that, typically, like in most industries in India, the 4th quarter is like super high sales, and the EBITDA has to be then dramatically high for you to get an average of 9.7. So we said, let us do about 8.5. 4.7 to 8.5 itself is like 100 kilos to 60 kilos. So we said, okay, chalo, we'll do that. We didn't have a plan. We said, what was the role of finance there? We said, now we have to share this task. So we said 4.7 to 8.5 is roughly about another 3.8%. How do we? So we split that 3.8% between functions. That is where finance came in, right? So I did tell the senior leadership, see, we don't know how to achieve it. Can we now start splitting it? And not split it equally. Split it in terms of area of impact. And frankly, at the end of the year, we delivered 8.5. Because we had a great plan. So forward-looking becomes very important. In the first quarter, we did 4.4. The second quarter, we did 6.6. In the third quarter, we did 8.5. Right? The average is still very bad. Just imagine, we have to hit 8.5 for the full year. In the first quarter, you're at 4.4. That means your run rate has gone terribly high for the next 3 quarters. That is where, you know, kind of hyper forecasting started. Now this year, we are not having the same level of hyper forecasting. But in that year, in 21-22 or 22-23, we had a lot of hyper forecasting and nobody asked for it. But this is very, very important. Okay, so when you're looking at performance management, there is a lot of things that we can do innovatively in the company. I'm not talking about automation. I know that is going to be talked about later. But very quickly, digital and automation, I'll just tell you only one thing. Why do you transport when you can teleport? Most of you are aware of what is teleportation, right? You stay in one place. Please watch that very old movie called The Fly. Okay, I think Jeff Goldblum, amazing movie where he sits into one place and he can transport himself to another place. We are almost on the verge of it. Whether it will happen or not, we don't know. There's a lot of data that is available. We need to understand, if you're doing it, great work, guys. At least from my perspective, I am discovering ways and means we can actually slice and dice the information, the data and analytics. The IT department or the digital department has to be your kind of close partner in this. You can drive not only for your own department or function, you can do a whale of work for the other businesses. For example, I worked with the IT department to look at the warranty analytics. Amazing data it started throwing up here. Amazing data. We could look at failure rates. We could see that it was going only through particular dealers. It was happening only in a particular zone. It was happening only in the, say, for example, the tipper segment. I'm just giving a random example. So what happens is, and then you have the same way you can look at your own analytics like receivables management, payables management, cash flows. Learn to use digital in a very, very, kind of, what shall we say, passionate way. And since you're going to talk about it, I'm not going to get too much into digital, but TSR, total shareholder returns. Finally, the scores matter, like I said. In one case, the scales matter, and the other case, the scores matter. If you're a listed company, or whether you are an unlisted company, it really does not matter. You can compute the TSR of an unlisted company also. And one has to view your performance, your own company's performance, or my own company's performance, not just in relation to what and how we are doing it, but how are others performing. Why I'm saying this is, some of these things I have shared, we have now communicated with investors, okay, that in the medium term, we can't tell a specific number because then it becomes a forward-looking statement. We have said that we want to get into mid-teens EBITDA. I can't tell a specific number again because it becomes a forward-looking statement. How did we arrive at that mid-teens EBITDA? Believe me, last year we have done 8.5. Now if we say that in 2 to 3 years or 4 years time, you have to get into something like 15%, how do you do it? How do you set your target like that? We set our target, you know why? Because Scania, one of the global auto majors, truck manufacturers, has 15% EBITDA. You can start saying, hey, but that is Europe. Yeah, Europe has a premium. So Europe will have the capabilities to deliver 15%. How can we do it in India? People ask for a discount for everything. Well, if you want to become a world-class company, you need to have world-class aspirations. And so TSR becomes a very important thing. Start monitoring the TSR of your organization. And you know what? Stock price movements are not simply something that somebody does in the market. There will be a reason for it. If you are in listed companies, take your stock price very, very importantly. Not because it is the be-all and end-all. It is one more parameter that you have to look at in a whole bunch of data that is available. So I did talk about, value creation, and I'll come to value systems. Typically organizations, what they do is they thrust the value systems on us, as if we are the sole proponents of honesty and truth, and the rest of the organization can go and do whatever they want, and we have to tell, please pay taxes properly. Please file, we have to file returns. So this has to be done, that has to be done, auditors are there, and then related party. That's a very fantastic topic. We can discuss 3 hours on related party alone, and it becomes a very complex affair in our businesses because businesses want to do something, auditors won't allow it, regulation doesn't allow it, and if you're listed, it is even more exciting because there is so much of reporting that you have to do on related party, right? Now, on this value systems, again, I've just taken 5 topics: vision and core values, GRC, which is governance, risk and compliance, control and compliance, almost the same thing, transparency and ESG. And with that, I'll quickly close. All I'll say is vision and core values. Be one of the people who is actually keeping track of it. Your CEO will appreciate it, your promoters will appreciate it, and believe me, this is one unique place where both the journey and the destination becomes very important. What you achieve in the time frame that you achieve and how you are achieving it ethically becomes very important. I'm telling you, once you keep driving that in a very soft way, but in a methodical way, people will see value in what you're bringing. And this is, people should not write down, most organizations don't do it these days. When they write a vision or a mission statement, they are very, very clear that they have to achieve that, because that is getting communicated to the teams as well, right? GRC, make it a strategic asset. Tell it well in time. Tell about the governance and risk processes which are there to your business heads. Have separate sessions with them. And ensure, one of the most important things is, you grab the attention of the senior leadership. Because otherwise, most of these things, what happen is, if suppose I set up a GRC meet, invariably what will happen is, it will get delegated to the middle management. The middle management guy will put it to the lower management. And suddenly I'll be discussing with the people who are generating a sales order or generating a purchase order and discussing about related party transaction, which will go way above their head. So this is something that we have to do it, because it has become very important. Whether it is listed or unlisted, this is super crucial. And believe me, the value of the company, the worth of the company, the reputation of the company, the attractiveness of the company, the morale of the employees, all of this also depends on this. Today, it's no longer something that the accountant or the chief accountant or the CFO does in a separate room by himself or herself. This is something that the entire organization has to follow as a process. And the more we educate them, the more we automate some of this, the easier it becomes to reach out to the customer. Because we have to comply with this as well. We can't wish away this. Control and compliance, I think in finance, one of the, I'm trying, still not happening, because I am part of the problem. But we should ensure, see, it is like this. We don't like if warranty is there in the product, right? We don't like it if there are production hitches. Why the hell do we have a journal voucher, man? I am now trying to ban journal vouchers in my organization. I said, no journal vouchers. If journal vouchers has to come, only my direct reports have to clear the journal vouchers, other than some TDS, VDS and all that stuff. I have told ERP, the guys in IT, please ban journal voucher access. Now, it may look like a tall task. It's not. When you buy a house, if the construction company says, I'll put a journal voucher because the cave, the floor or something is different, you don't like it, right? You want it pakka. When you go to a doctor, you want the diagnosis to be perfect. Correct? When you buy a car, it has to work perfect. Well, then why should accounts department have journal vouchers? Try. And it is very important, because if you say to your team, just like manufacturing, Six Sigma, right? We will have a first pass yield which is 100%. You will find that the problem is not with finance. It is also with operating teams, because there is a lot of uncertainty around it. Fix those processes. Fix those processes. Invest, that's why I said 20% to 25% of a CFO's time, if it is not used for this, which I am not able to spend 100%, by the way, right? We can fix a lot of inefficiencies in the company. Transparency. This is one of the most respected, I would say, qualities both within and outside an organization, especially on a listed company. Let me tell you, if I know, for example, that in 2 quarters, for 2 quarters, the results are not going to be great, I have found that investors actually value that, because you are not leading them up a garden path and then telling them something which is, which is completely out of whack. If you tell them 2 quarters later, you say, no, I'm going to grow, and after that, 2 quarters later, you come and say, actually, what happened? The demand fell off. They'll say, and you know this for 2 quarters, Then what happens the next time you want to raise capital, the next time you go to banks, the next time you're looking at potential vendors, all of them will say, these guys are not being transparent. Same thing happens with leaders within the organization. Be transparent about it. Like, for example, I take 2 of my colleagues to the audit committee. Why I take them? It's not a virtue. They should know what is happening inside the audit committee. The board, I'm a member of the board, but in an audit committee, I'm not, right? I am supposed to answer. A lot of tough questions come. And sometimes I stumble. So they see that. It's a learning for them. They see me stumble. There's nothing wrong with it. But what happens is it improves the relationship, right? That, okay, this guy is very transparent. So I don't come and give some BS after that. No, I did a great job here, I did a great job there. That's not what we are looking at. We are trying to learn together and fix things. So they also understand, they empathize what are the challenges that we have. It makes a better team, right? ESG. Again, I think, I don't know whether you have a session today, but this is something that, again, finance team members are super crucial in this. Because the reporting that is going to happen on ESG is becoming more and more complex. And I think it is becoming more and more complex because it is being institutionalized. Which means this year, I think it's 100 companies. Next year, it is going to be 250. After that, it's going to be 500 of the largest companies. And all of them will have to give not only details on scope 1. Scope 1 is our own internal consumption of energy and power, etc. Then scope 2 comes to water and other things. Scope 3 is the ESG part of our vendors and distributors and other people, or if we buy steel, or if we buy something, what is the carbon neutrality of that? So it becomes very, very important. Measurement systems are becoming finer. Be ready for that. There's a lot of other aspects of governance that I can talk about, but I'm just kind of keeping it pretty short. So finally, I'm going to leave you with these thoughts, right? For us to feel wanted, for us to feel needed, for us to be respected, whatever adjective that you want to use, we have to stay relevant. That is the most important thing that we need as individuals, as colleagues, as leaders. If you have to stay relevant, stay connected with what is happening, peer into the future, keep continuously looking at what's happening in the industry, what's happening around the world. Some of them may not even have any relation to what you're doing at all, but you don't know where you can assimilate the data and actually start using it. Third one, learn to ride risks. Don't come and say this is risky. Crossing the road is risky. Crossing GST road is risky. Please don't cross it. Everybody knows that, yeah. What you have to advise there is what is the kind of risk that you can take, what are the risks that you should not take. Don't ask for guarantees, but at your table, stay relevant. Point out the potential risks that your organization can have, but most importantly also come out with solutions. Any new initiative will be beset with risks. Capital risk, return risk, cash flow risk, you can keep on quantifying it, but also find ways and means to mitigate it so that we can move forward. So riding risks is very important. Sometimes you ride a risk and you also dismount from a risk. You can take a risk, go on up to a certain level, and then after that you come off it. Right? There are first mover advantages. You take that and then you clean up, and after that you say, okay, let me not put so much capital into this business. I've already got a return on this. Let me not put the next level of risk capital. Fourth one, fail fast if you need to. Allow your team members to fail fast. Nothing wrong with it. But failure cannot be the goal, obviously. But if there are some slip-ups, etc., try to understand whether it's a process issue or an attitude issue. Attitude issue, fix it. If it's an attitude issue, fix it. But if it's a process issue, you can correct it. But allow them. Otherwise, the fear of failure should not allow people not to perform or even put out their ideas to you as leaders that you are. Foster co-creation. Don't always have to say the first word and the last word and the middle word and all the words. Right? Get your team members inside. Allow the cross-functional team members also to perform. Allow them, I think hearing is a very important capability that we need to have. But again, I'm not kind of advocating that what Lord Krishna said, do your duty and the fruits will come. Well, if he was here today in this current world, he will say, do your duty, advertise and communicate, then the fruits will come. So you have to ensure that you are communicating for yourself also. Occasionally laugh here. You guys are like so... Okay, now the third part, foster co-creation. Then unlearn and relearn, I'm not going to explain. You have to know this. Technologies are changing, accounting standards are changing, auditing standards are changing. Technology is completely now different. So keep learning on it. Have that curiosity in you to actually keep going at it. Yeah, this is very important. You need to have a childlike curiosity to keep yourself kind of energized. And lead an empowered team. I already thought about it. So I'm not going to again talk about it. Empower your team. You don't need so much of staff then. Allow them to make a little bit of mistake, but kind of hover over them, and you will actually see the transformation that can happen. You would have started building next generation leaders. And next generation leaders have to be much younger than the current generation leaders. That's the trick of a very large motivated team. So, just 2 words or 2 lines. Stay relevant and you can stay ahead. Thank you.
In case anybody has any questions. Anybody has any?
Good morning, sir. I am
Morning.
Vineet Goyal from JK Tire, sir.
Hi.
Sir, in relation to this, our roles and responsibilities are getting changed very drastically, and at the same time, some compliances which we were doing earlier, now we are not able to do because of more pressure, more burden in
Because of what, sorry?
because of more pressure, or because we cannot look, we have passed on that activities to some of our colleagues, so we are not able to look into that. So what is your view in that, how we should take up all these things, sir? Like TDS activity, TDS returns filing and all, GST returns filing and all. I have not used SAP since last 2 years actually, but I am leading the team who has to perform the SAP task. So
No, see, there are 2, 3 things here. One is, I'll tell you, basically, it's a simple solution, but it's also a complex solution, okay? Because it's like this even in our personal life, okay? How many of us file our income taxes on a month of April? Anybody? I file 15th, 16th of July. I have gone into improvement mode. Normally it is 31st, sometimes it's August 10th, 15th, then I'll pay 10,000 rupees. But I will tell my son, don't spend 500 rupees on this, but I'll pay 10,000 rupees on delayed tax return. So you are filing well in time. So you should have the best solution here. Now the point is this, set targets very clearly with your teams. Don't move on the targets. See, that is not being hard-nosed, okay? That is not at all being hard-nosed. That is not being tough. I have 1 or 2 colleagues who will say, this guy talks so nicely in public, yeah? He's actually a devil and monster in office. But the point is this, don't move your targets away. 31st July is 31st July. Otherwise you pay 10,000 bucks or 5,000, I don't know what that amount is, right? So you say, okay, 10 days before that you have to do it. Don't have to also say that you will do it in April. You don't need to, because there is workflow in the pipe. Once you do that, you also take a review, and believe me, it will happen. You take a review of how many team members you got, what are they investing their time in, spend maybe 1 or 2 days in that first. Once you do that, then you see that there could be opportunities that they are doing things not in a sequential order, and second one is that they are doing things which need not be done. The maker-checker concept that we have in finance need not be there anymore if you have proper ERP controls. So see whether you can reallocate resources, right? And then after that, see, there are 4 or 5 things that will come up. There will be about 10 things which will have to be done in a particular month, which is like, you know, it's not strategic, let me put it that way, right? So when that is happening, you have to spend that 10 minutes every day to ensure that that's on course. You keep investing that 10 to 15 minutes, you will see a vast change. Otherwise, there is no other solution. And then automate as much as possible. Now, TDS, etc. And then if there are guys in the operating departments who are not helping you with that, you should have a formal meeting, record the minutes, and ensure that there is a follow-up meeting after that. See, one of them, I'll tell you, I learned this from Dr. Mashelkar in Thomax. You know, he's come from very humble means, and you can Google Dr. Mashelkar and find out. He studied under a street lamp, and he's an innovation leader. He was an innovation advisor to the government. He's also working with the Reliance. He's a member of the board, etc. So when, I don't know whether it was me or one of my colleagues in a board meeting, they said, okay, when are you going to do this? This has happened for 1 quarter now. So this was sometime, say, in September. So the immediate response, sir, we will do it by end of this quarter. So his simple question was, what is end of this quarter? I mean, he didn't ask it in anger. He said, what is the end of this quarter? Is it 31st of December? Is it 15th of December? What is it? So he said, no, we have to work out a date. So he said, if you have to work out a date, why do you commit? He said, can you do one thing? Take 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Can you come out with a date? He said, I don't mind if you say 23rd of December. But don't say end of the quarter. Now what happens is, most of our internal meetings, external meetings, collaborative meetings, cross-functional meetings, we will come back in 2 weeks' time. What is 2 weeks? Nobody knows, because nobody measures it. Yeah. If I say I'll come back to you in 2 weeks' time, I may come back to you in 3 weeks. You will not know. So when you are having your internal meetings, have that hard date. I am telling you, some of these very simple management techniques which will go on in life is what is very, very crucial. Keep that going, you will solve at least 15-20%. You will bring in 20% efficiency. That much I can guarantee you. I'm not some messiah or something, but this works. Yeah.
Sir?
Somebody else was there in the back. Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
I'm from Accord Metropolitan.
Yeah, hi.
And thanks for the great session here. And just about this GRC, it's Government Regulations and Controls. You just said make it as a strategic asset. Can you please elaborate on it, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'll tell you why GRC is a strategic asset, and I'm telling you practically about that. See, when I joined Ashok Leyland in 2000, and this is not, I also want to share some of the good work that the company is doing, okay? And I thought I'll take an in-house example. 13-14 when I joined, right? We were looking at turnaround of the company. It was going through a lot of things, so a lot of effort was there. We raised a QIP, we raised money, we did this, we did that, balance sheet, clean up of the balance sheet, ROCs went up and all that. Parallelly, what was happening was operating teams. This was in 13, 14, 14, 15. So somebody said, sir, we put Miyawaki forests. I said, oh, really? I mean, okay, Miyawaki forest, okay. And then I said, what is it? Then he said, no, Miyawaki forest, sir, we are actually, the Miyawaki forest is where, this is by a Japanese, where you put in different plants together and they cohabit in such a way that they encourage each other to grow. It's a collaborative effort of the plants, and they will grow very fast and they will grow very thick. It will be like you can't get inside, right? So that is Miyawaki forest. Now what happened is, at that point in time, when we saw that there was a lot of greenery that was being done in the plants, and what was happening was slowly by 15, 16, there were migratory birds that started coming in our tech center, in our factory in Hosur, in our factory in Pantnagar and all that. Now when I used to say, this is very interesting, yeah, because you like it, no? When you could see something like this. So I went and saw the Miyawaki forest immediately after 3-4 days, because to understand what it is. And I was also saying that, okay, can I come and impress my wife? I'll say that, okay, we can do a Miyawaki forest in a pot or something like that. We tried, it didn't work, but it really is helpful, right? Because if you can grow something in your house, it will be fantastic. When I used to make these presentations to investors, they'll say, okay, right, okay. Now can we come to the next quarter? I mean, what is steel prices like, right? Okay, is this what is going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. Today when I make those presentations, they'll say, hey, what is the thing? What is your diversity ratio? What is happening on how much of your land is green? What is your green energy? For example, we are at about 67%. So I say our Ennore factory is almost 99% green. They'll say, wow, that is the change that is happening today. It is not purely investors alone. See, yesterday I was in a GRC summit at PwC. We have to, what we were discussing, and at that point what I did mention, I felt that was the right thing to do, so I mentioned it. It was not pre-planned. They said, but as CFO, can you tell me what... I said, the CFO's role is not to say that if you spend 1 rupee, your profit will come down by 1 rupee. I said, everybody knows it in the room. Even a child knows it. Yeah? If you spend 10 rupees, the profit will come down by 10 rupees. You don't need a CFO, deputy CFO, general manager, etc. to tell that. But I said, if you want to bring in, GRC, etc. coming in there, and if you want to bring in ESG also on top of it, I know you asked about GRC, I'm also talking about ESG. I said, budget it as a line item, yeah? Just like salaries, just like your distribution cost. Budget it that this is an effort the company has to do. So similarly, when you come to GRC, why it is a strategic asset is, today what they are saying, you look at some of the startups, who rode up, and I don't want to take up names because I'm sure they must have had their challenges. It's very easy to sit and, reflect on somebody else. But some of their valuations have come down purely because they didn't disclose. They could have disclosed saying they're making losses. So what? You make losses in business. As long as you are having a credible reason for it and you have paths to recover, there is nothing wrong. This whole GRC bit, if you really reflect upon it, is happening. Why? Because we don't want to tell certain things. Right? So organizations whose reporting standards are high actually benefit from attracting investors, from attracting employees, from attracting a lot of talent, capital. So that is where, you start getting the premium. You were wanting to ask something. Yeah, hi.
Exactly resembling our CFO, Ajit Bhattacharya. So whenever he uses Gemba, he always asks that, okay, when is it you're going to complete? We say that next quarter. Can you give me a date? So as you said, it's a simple but powerful one to have things very focused, right? So in that sense, how do you see the reports or the analysis which comes to your table? Do you look at data-driven insights and business-driven insights? Do you look both, or you always look at the business-driven insights and give instructions on the forecasting and the data point?
See, I do 2-3 things, and I'm going beyond this. Today I'll tell you what it's doing. So I'm clarifying to my direct reports also. There is a fine difference, or very fine difference between, that means it can't be measured. One is delegation, the second one is abdication, right? So some of them may have felt that I'm abdicating because I'll say, no, I don't want to see this, you come back. Then they'll say, sir, we have already prepared the report. No, I want you to come and tell me what are the points. Right? You come and tell me what are the points. It's not that I won't look at it, you come and tell me. So what happens is, I'm pushing down a lot of stuff to my number 2, number 3s, etc. And Fatin, who is there, is a victim of that. I will never allow him inside the room saying, no, you please come back with the cash flows. Unless you, am I right? So I'll say, you please come back with the cash flows. You tell me whether it is right or wrong. You check with the people and come back. Then Fatin must be thinking, what the heck is this guy doing? Simply drinking tea, coffee and going and giving gyan in some open forum. Is that what he's doing? No. The point is, yes, I do give gyan in open forum. The point is, you are enabling your people to first look at it, right? And when they look at it, they possibly will look at it a lot more financially than on the business side, which is not bad, which is not bad at all, which is good. When that comes to me, then I look at it saying, hey, these are the growth assumptions that are taken, but why is the growth assumptions like this? Have you checked with the business side? So for me, when I look at it, I don't look at it from finance angle or I don't look at it from business angle. I look at it from the company angle. And whether I'm giving a forecast to ICRA or to a banker or to a private equity guy, first question to ask is this plan, first question is it credible? The second one is it exciting? If they don't pass muster for both, that means there is something wrong in what we are doing. Because it has to be credible, it has to be achieved. But it has to be exciting, otherwise why would somebody want to come and invest money into your company? So we have to look at both. But understanding, see, the thing is to understand the businesses better. So if you understand the businesses better, then when the numbers and reports come to you, you are able to understand a lot more, or the forecasts that come to you, you are able to understand a lot more. Typically, we ourselves, including myself, maybe sometimes don't do that. We want to push out the report and move on in life, right? That is when you actually see a difference. That is why, if you typically look at it, I'm sure you must be attending your CEO meetings. The question that the CEO asks will invariably a question that you can't answer. Am I right? That's because we have not seen it from the business angle. Now that is the role of a good CFO, so to speak. Yep. I don't know whether they have time, but yeah.
Maybe in interest of time, we'll take one question.
Yeah.
Going back to that whole villain analogy, and you've beautifully laid out why we are the villains. Have you ever faced a situation in an organization, or if somebody faces this, where How do you explain all of this to the non-finance team, where you face with resistance from what you're trying to do, other teams not accepting why you want to, change certain things or deliver certain information or drive certain things from a finance standpoint? And this can vary from large organizations to small organizations. So how do you establish to the other teams that we're trying to do something, not really trying to disrupt what they do, but actually trying to add value?
See, there are two, three things. In a large organization, this role will predominantly have to be paid by the CFO or somebody very senior in what is called as executive leadership team meetings. There they have to be told about what is BRSR reporting or what is GRC, what are the regulations that SEBI is asking for, what is related party transactions. And invariably, when you start these presentations, two of the leaders will have a mobile call to take. They will go out or they will go around the corner and then they will come back slowly by the time you would have finished it. So sometimes what I do is I just wait. So you come back, boss. This is a very important discussion we are having because this is going to affect. So what happens is when you showcase this, right? And this practically happens. I'm not trying to be jovial. This is practically what happens. So when you showcase this in a way that you are able to say, related party transaction, let us have this done because the pricing is going to be impacting your business. Let us not do it at the end of the quarter. Let us do it. You have to get an approval at the beginning of the year for the total volumes by the audit committee, and we should show that this is what it is. Present it in palatable manners. And then once we are able to get that, and this is it's not easy. When you are able to get the ear of that other leader from the other function, right? And then after that you say, now let me percolate it. You please percolate it down to your thing, or you take the lead and writing to them so that I'll have a mid-level managers going and meeting them. Then things start to become. The other thing that is very important in these kind of things, where it can be very tiring, it can be very strenuous, sometimes a little frustrating also, is that we need to keep at it. We need to keep at it because there is no way that we can, ignore GRC or the latest regulations. But it's a tough call. But I'll tell you the other thing is today with the level of WhatsApp and news and all that is happening, all the top business leaders understand everything. Yeah. They're all pretty sharp. So they understand that you can't get away from some of these things and ignore it till the year end. Audit is no longer, like for example, by the second quarter, I start warning people, right? If there is anything reversal to be done or income to be earned, etc., let us do it in the second and third quarter. You can't do it in the fourth quarter. Because in the fourth quarter, if you do anything prior to the previous quarter, so you have to keep doing these advance. But instead of, the most important thing is attitude. If you pontificate, if you pontificate and go from the top, then what happens is, that's why if you notice all the team building sessions that happen in organizations, the fellow won't be standing like this here. The fellow will be there. Then your connect is much better. So keep them well in advance, repeat it. I think people understand. But it is difficult, it's not easy. Okay? Thank you very much. Yeah. Bye. Have a good session. Bye.